LEGO games are some of the most well-made tie-in games, and most of them still hold up really well today. But imagine being able to play LEGO The Hobbit anywhere you want. Finally, I can explore Middle-earth on the go. Yeah, at that point you might as well just have this instead. But hey, the LEGO handheld games got really impressive, and they were a pretty big part of my childhood. It's always really interesting to see how they had put LEGO games on less powerful hardware. So today, I'm going to explore these 7 games. I believe this is where you can see the rise in quality and the decline, which shows an important part of LEGO game portable history. Also, just before I start things off, this is the 4th part to a series where I review every LEGO game developed by TT Fusion. So if you're wondering where any of the older games are, like LEGO Batman or LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, you can check out those videos. Anyways, I'll start things off with LEGO Batman 2 was a monumental game for Traveler's Tales, being the first game with dialogue and having a huge open world hub where you can freely turn your camera. With so much innovation in one game, everyone was expecting the handheld version to hopefully do the same thing. On the same day as the console version, LEGO Batman 2 was released for DS, 3DS, and PS Vita. Personally, I grew up with the 3DS version of this game, and getting this game for me and my brother's birthday is still a day I will never forget. We stayed up all night playing LEGO Batman 2 on the 3DS, and I loved this game to death as a kid. I'm going to be playing this game on the 3DS, so let's find out. Does it still hold up? On the start screen, one of the first things I notice is they finally brought back multi-cartridge multiplayer, which is so nice. Just weird they haven't had it since LEGO Indiana Jones 2. Of course, this game's story is identical to the console versions, even having the same cutscenes, and this game's first level is almost identical to the console version as well. Now taking a look at the PS Vita and DS versions, obviously the PS Vita is the same game, just looking a lot prettier, while the DS version on the other hand is really rough. Just take a look at the cutscenes on that version.
Lex, I'm surprised you took time away from your presidential campaign and came all the way to Gotham City for this.
Oh, dear lady, as a nominee, it's my pleasure and privilege to be here. Especially if you win.
And when it comes to gameplay, it runs so poorly. Sure, it doesn't look awful, but I would consider it almost unplayable when compared to the other versions. I have no clue why they're still putting these things on the DS. Anyways, back to the 3DS version. Right off the bat, this game introduces you to the combat, which is one of the main highlights for this game. It feels so good to beat up on enemies, now being able to grab them or stun them using your batarang. Also, when finishing off an enemy, they will fly in whatever direction you're pointing the joystick, which can be used to instantly stun another enemy, so you can take out hordes of them quickly. Stronger characters like Batman are also able to perform a ground pound, which can stun all nearby enemies. For some reason, anything you do to an enemy, you can also do to your AI or co-op partner, which is super fun, just grabbing each other and throwing each other off ledges. I mean, look how terrifying this looks. So, combat feels perfect in this game. Out of all the LEGO handheld games I've played, it feels like they finally mastered it here. But this game introduces a ton of new superheroes like Superman and Flash. As Superman, you can use your freeze breath to freeze enemies or heat vision to take them out, which adds a lot of variety to the combat. Lots of heroes have exclusive abilities, like Flash's super speed or all the flying characters. There are a lot of different ways to traverse levels. Of course, you can use your grapple hook, but something really cool is flying characters and speedsters can use them as well. I mean, it makes sense for flying characters, not so much speedsters. Superman and a lot of other characters can fly, which is amazing. It kinda sucks you can't control how high or how low you want to go. You're stuck flying at a certain height unless you get to a point that lets you fly higher, but it's cool nonetheless. Batman, when he's in his main suit, can glide, and Robin has the ability to double jump and do other athletic things when he's in his, which can make for some really cool levels where you're constantly switching between the two to get to one point. But one of my favorite new ways to traverse has to be using super speed. Flash is the only character that can do this, but it feels so nice to be able to run super fast around the levels. Okay, that's enough talking about the characters for now, because what's the point of having good characters if we don't have good levels? The levels in this game are just trying to recreate the console version. Of course, you don't do the exact same thing, but all the settings are pretty much the same. In most levels, you'll just be switching between characters to solve a puzzle, with either a boss fight or some goons in your way. This gameplay formula is very addictive, and the settings for these levels are great and look nice. Like in the first level, you're in a theater and have to take out a lot of Batman's iconic villains in just one level. It's an awesome introduction to the game. Or the second level in the game, which is one of my favorites. You have to climb a huge building, constantly switching between Batman and Robin to use their different abilities. Some levels try to spice things up a bit by having occasional vehicle sections. They can be fun, but you're not doing much out of the norm from what you expect. Batman and Robin's suits also make a return from the first game, which is great. It adds a lot of variety to the puzzles. All of them are from the console version, except we're missing the Acrobat suit, which makes sense because it's already baked into Robin's moveset. The AI player has improved a lot as well, now being able to take out enemies. And once you get access to characters with superpowers like Cyborg or Superman, they are implied into a lot of the puzzles as well. The levels in this game feel more similar to classic LEGO games unlike its console counterpart, which I really enjoy. So if you're a fan of those more simple or earlier games, then you'll really enjoy the levels in this game. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering by now, does this game have a huge open world free roam like the console version? Now I'm going to ask you, what do you think? So this game just has the Batcave as its hub. It's the same Batcave as the console version, but there isn't really anything to do in it. It's simply there so you can access the shop, level selection, and everything else. I don't really want to complain about the hub world because obviously I wasn't expecting him to give us a huge city. But this game's hub world is smaller than LEGO Batman 1 on DS. Like you couldn't have at least let us go to Wayne Manor, and not to mention you can only be Batman and Robin in the hub world, and there's no one else walking around in it. There isn't anything to find or explore, it's just really disappointing. Like, I get it, the levels are the meat and potatoes of the game, but you guys have had way more interesting hub worlds in the past. After completing the main story in the game, of course you unlock the ability to replay every level in free play mode. But you also unlock a new exclusive mode called Justice League mode. You choose a location, which are all just locations you've played through in the main story, and fight endless hordes of enemies. You can only switch your character once you defeat a set number of enemies or move on to the next area. This mode is so cool, it really gets the combat shine in the game, and it's where I figured out you can counter enemy attacks. It's super challenging though. Every time you die, your trophy will lose its ranking, and you want to get a gold trophy for 100% completion. I do think some of these can be a bit unfair though, mostly when it comes to enemies that are in the air and the ones in straitjackets that will just run after you and grab you. Also, it doesn't help there are tons of stage hazards that you have to avoid. But on the underground level, you can call in a huge train kind of as a risk and reward thing. It can damage you and enemies. Each level also ends in a boss fight. Although a lot of these boss fights are pretty unfair, it's fun to master them. Even getting a boss fight gets Mr. Zsasz, which it's crazy to see him in this game. If you get a silver or bronze medal, you unlock a character for free. But you have to get gold if you want to get 100%. Which I do see as a bit unfair. While I had a lot of fun with these because of the challenge, I'm not sure if a kid who's trying to get 100% would enjoy these. But what do I know, I loved this mode as a kid despite how challenging it was. Going back and replaying a lot of levels was really fun too, just finding tons of secret areas I couldn't access previously or testing out all the characters I have unlocked. And also this game has an amazing character roster. We have Superboy, Vixen, Green Arrow, Deathstroke, Deadshot, Red Hood, tons of exclusive characters that are not in the console version. Not to mention, you can finally switch between any character you want while playing free play mode. Yes, this wasn't a feature in any of the other LEGO handheld games before it, but I do have a gripe with it. You see, now that you can do this, the game doesn't automatically give you every character you need to get 100% on that level, which can be a bit annoying because then I'm always going back to the menu just to switch my character for one puzzle. But honestly, it's just a small complaint. This is also the point where the character customizer in the portable versions became better than the console versions. LEGO Batman 2 on the console honestly had a pretty disappointing character customizer. You can't even give characters super speed. But on the 3DS and other handhelds, you have tons of preset classes, or you can just choose to import any character's abilities into your custom character, which is so cool. Getting 100% in this game wasn't hard at all. I actually did it in only 8 hours, and I know I have been praising this game a lot, but I honestly can't tell if that's because of the nostalgia, or because I really like this game. Obviously, it's not perfect. A lot of people who don't enjoy LEGO games won't enjoy this one either, and in terms of LEGO game standards, it's pretty basic. But this gave me tons of hours of enjoyment as a kid, and I will never forget that. A lot of critics at the time gave this game mediocre reviews because it wasn't innovating like the console version, which I can completely understand, but I can't help but love this game. There isn't any huge or glaring issues like all the other previous games. It's a simple by-the-books LEGO Batman game, and as you will see, this game marks the end of an era for portable LEGO games. I do recommend this game to anyone that enjoys LEGO games. While this one isn't groundbreaking in any way, it's a really good time. I mean, I can try to force myself to think of some real negatives, like maybe the load times can be a bit ridiculous, and unlocking soundbites in the game is just like teasing you about not having an open world free roam. Also, a couple of months later, in March 2013, this game released on iOS devices, which is cool. Although they took out the multiplayer and it's filled with in-app purchases, which is not very cool, but I do think it's time to move on to the next game. LEGO Lord of the Rings is a LEGO game that so many people wanted. Me personally, I was never into Lord of the Rings. That wouldn't happen until I got to high school, so I don't really have any memories at all playing the console version of the game. But for Christmas, I did ask for the 3DS version of LEGO Lord of the Rings just because I was excited to get my hands on it after enjoying LEGO Batman 2 so much. So for Christmas, I got the DS version. Obviously, as a kid, I didn't care. I had no clue there was going to be any differences. And I really enjoyed my time with the game, but this will basically be my first time playing the 3DS version of the game. So seeing that LEGO Batman 2 is a lot better on that system, I'm expecting the same for this. Yet again, this game released on the 3DS, DS, and PS Vita, but I'll get to the differences in a bit. Starting things off, again, this game has multi-cartridge multiplayer, and I'm glad to see this become a trend again. The first level, like LEGO Batman, introduces you to the combat. It's mostly the same, just this time instead of grabbing your enemies, you can kick them, which will stun them. Some characters also have charge moves that can defeat enemies in one hit. You also have a new enemy as well, like shielded ones, where you have to kick away their shield before you can do any damage to them. But yeah, most of the weapons you'll be using are swords, bows, and staffs, which all have their advantages in combat. Like when using a character of a bow, it's better just to stand back and shoot them from a distance so you can take no damage. Or, characters of the swords can take out enemies quicker. I will say the combat feels more simpler compared to LEGO Batman 2. But it kind of makes sense seeing that you'll mostly be using weapons most of the time. Again, I'm not that huge of a Lord of the Rings fan, so I can't tell you if they have any cool exclusive characters in this game. But the characters do have a lot of variety, like hobbits, dwarves, elves, and wizards. They all approach puzzle solving in different ways, and it's a lot of fun switching between all of them. I will say I love how characters slowly progress going through the story. Like how Frodo only starts out with 3 hearts, and later on he'll get armor, which will give him 4 hearts. The same with weapons as well. Most of the main characters will get new weapons that'll let them do different abilities as you progress. Levels in this game obviously follow the 3 Lord of the Rings films, and you get a nice variety of locations and things to do in the levels. Especially since you get to play as a big group of characters, all having different abilities, so you're constantly switching between characters to do different things. But you'll never believe what they did with this game. So after you complete the first level, you are sent straight to the hub, and oh my god, this game has a free roam. But I don't remember it being this way at all. And that's because in the DS version, the free roam is in an isometric point of view, and each area is split up into chunks with long loading times. Not only that, but it runs so poorly, even on levels, to the point where I'm thinking, was this even worth it? Obviously as a kid, I didn't mind it, but I had no clue the 3DS version did the hub worlds so much better. Like, they're the same hub worlds and had the same things to do, but because it's in an isometric angle, it's kind of hard to tell what you're even doing, and it just makes it look so much less exciting. The 3DS and Vita both have huge open worlds, obviously both being the same, with Vita just having better graphics and better camera control. I'm just so sad I didn't play the 3DS version growing up, because this would have blown me away. Not only that, but this whole free roam you can play in multiplayer as well, which is amazing. So after each level, you'll get sent back to the hub world, and to get to the next level, you have to traverse it, which makes level progression feel really grand and like a huge adventure. Like, having this huge party of characters and switching between them to traverse this massive hub world is a lot of fun. Because of the hub worlds and levels, it makes this game's story mode one of the best and most ambitious I've ever played in a LEGO handheld game. But this is where the negatives start to come in. You see, notice how I only mentioned the story mode. Yeah, the hub worlds don't really have much to come back to after you complete the story. Sure, there are some characters and other stuff to unlock, but there isn't really anything to do. Playing free play in levels is fun as always, but there are a lot less collectibles to find in them, although there is a new collectible to collect. You can now collect items in each level, though you can't use the items like the console version. Instead, you're supposed to give them to people in the hub world. In the hub world, you'll find random people standing around that'll want you to find an item for them in exchange for a red brick. Which is fine, I guess, just some characters will want 3 items that are all in completely different levels. On top of that, you can't tell what item you're getting in the level and you don't know what red brick they're getting you. So what would end up happening is I would find an item on a level, and then spend ages trying to find that person to give the item to, only to find out they want another item from me just to give me the red brick. And this got really annoying. I wish they at least had like a log or something that would help you track who you've talked to and what they want. But even then, all they do is give you red bricks, which is pretty annoying. Most of the good or useful red bricks are locked behind the people who want multiple items. And since I can't track what items are in levels, by the time I'm unlocking those red bricks, I'll never get to use them on the levels. Like, I have already gotten all the collectibles into hub worlds and levels by the time I got any of the good red bricks, which really sucks and was honestly annoying. I would have much rather them give me characters or something else. It's why I prefer when LEGO games hide red bricks in hub worlds, because most of the time when they are put in levels, by the time I have done everything in all the levels, I will never get to use most of the useful ones. I don't know, I really like the hub worlds and love their ambition. It gave the story mode in this game a way grander experience. But when it comes to getting 100% into hub world, it just got in the way. And I forgot to mention, you can't simply select what level you want to play. You have to walk through the whole entire hub world and go to a mission pad just to start the mission. Like, come on, you couldn't have just had a level select or something? I know I've been complaining about this game a lot, but genuinely, it is a good game if you don't really care about going for 100%. Like I said, this game is super ambitious, and I'm shocked with the amount of work and effort they put in here. Trying to cram a huge open world in the LEGO game for a 3DS is insane. I really appreciate this game and honestly enjoyed it a lot. It just got very tedious near the end, but I'm glad to see them get really ambitious again. There is something that kind of bothers me though. I was looking at reviews from critics back in the day, and they gave this game pretty mediocre reviews, which feels odd. You gave LEGO Batman 2 on 3DS mediocre reviews for not being ambitious enough, and then criticized this one for poppin'. Like, it's a 3DS game, and I don't know what you were expecting. I don't know, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It just kind of annoys me when they do be ambitious, they're just gonna get criticized for it again. But anyways, if you're a fan of LEGO Lord of the Rings on console, or just like LEGO games in general, I would definitely recommend this game. And before I talk about the next game, this game also released on Android and iOS a little over a year after. It's just the same game as the 3DS version, just without the multiplayer again, and in-app purchases, which in-app purchases are kind of annoying, but oh well. It's time for the next game. LEGO City Undercover is a game I'm not too familiar with. Watching as a Wii U exclusive, I never got to play the game as a kid, so most of my knowledge of the game is from watching Pack Attack, Blitzwinger, or Jay Shockblast play it, and I haven't really gotten around to playing the re-release. But today, I am not talking about that version. While LEGO City Undercover was late in development, Nintendo asked TT Fusion if they could also make a 3DS version of the game. This game would become a 3DS exclusive, and a prequel to the Wii U game. It would release a month after the Wii U version as well. It was titled LEGO City Undercover: The Chase Begins, and I absolutely loved this game as a kid. I remember the day picking it from the store and being so hyped to finally have a console-like experience on the go. So let's find out if it still meets my expectations. The game starts off with a cutscene exclusive to this version of the game. Here, let me show you.
LEGO City, the greatest city in the world. The city where I became a cop. Which is how the story begins. That's Chief runs.
Yeah, the emulator I'm using to record footage and play the game messes up all the cutscenes for any LEGO game you play. Anyways, after the cutscene, the game starts you right off in the first mission. This still is amazing to me. This huge open world city is all yours to explore. The first mission has you picking up donuts for the police chief. You go over to the donut shop only to figure out they don't have any donuts because their delivery van broke down. So your job is to get to the delivery van, repair it, and bring it back to the donut shop so you can deliver the donuts. After that, the mission is complete. This game takes a very different approach on its levels. Instead of hub worlds and levels being in separate areas, every level you do will be in whatever city you're in. They're all kind of like bite-sized missions. You do a couple of those and then you're able to do a final mission for that respective area. The final missions will always be a boss fight. These boss fights can range in quality, but most of them are pretty okay. Sometimes they can be fun and exciting, like catching criminals that have stolen a car or going undercover in a prison, but a lot of the same things will be repeated. Obviously, to change things up, every time you defeat a boss, you are put in a new city or area. Once you unlock a new free roam, it'll give you more missions to do and collectibles to find. Each new area you unlock is super unique from one another. You unlock a prison, a space station, and a nature police station. That really gives me Twin Peaks vibes. At the start of each area's story, you'll unlock a new disguise for Chase to use. These disguises give Chase new abilities, which can help him solve puzzles, or go back into areas that he previously couldn't in other hub worlds. The disguises are probably one of my favorite parts about this game. It's really simple to change between them just using the D-pad. It's a lot of fun solving puzzles in a big open free roam, just switching between multiple suits. Although I do wish you could jump higher with the spacesuit like you could in the console version, or glide with the chicken. You can glide with it, but it's only in dedicated areas. But other than that, the movement in this game feels really great. You have the mini-map on the bottom screen which shows you where collectibles are and your next mission. You control the camera using the left and right shoulder buttons. It honestly feels great to control. Not only that, but you now have driving. The controls feel really good. I like how when driving in the woods, your vehicle is a lot harder to handle. It's a nice little detail. Combat in this game is okay. You don't really fight people in this game. Instead, when you press the attack button, it does a quick throw. But if you press the A button, you can grab them and throw them wherever you want. If someone is about to hit you, you press X to counter their attack. And while they're down on the ground, you press A to put them in handcuffs. At first this was pretty fun, but it gets really repetitive after a while. Especially since I'm just going to do the same thing every single time. I also forgot to mention, but you can't replay missions either, which is very weird to me. It kinda sucks to be honest, but even if you could replay the missions, it's not like you would want to anyways. There wouldn't be any hidden collectibles, since all the collectibles are hidden throughout the city. So after you beat the main story, instead you have tons of collectibles to find. You can use your scanner to try and find them, or get an extra that'll mark them on your minimap. You have the collectibles that require a certain disguise, like break a certain number of ATMs using his robber disguise, or shoot pigs through a cannon, but you can also find characters around bricks as well. Getting the collectibles in a hub world can be very addicting. I would catch myself getting distracted while praying through the story just to try and get a collectible. But there are some issues. Sometimes I'll need to get to the top of a building to get a certain character, but I'll have no clue how to actually get on top of that building, so I'll search around for ages. This happened quite a lot when I was going for 100%, but it wasn't that big of a deal, mostly just annoying and wasted a lot of time. Overall, getting 100% this game was pretty fun. It just took really long compared to all the other games I've played. Free roams are really fun, but I do wish there was flying vehicles. There's a UFO you can unlock, but it just hovers a bit over the ground. As a kid, I remember doing lots of glitches with it. It's really easy to get out of bounds using it. Again, critics gave this game mediocre reviews when it launched, mostly because of the foggy city. But to be honest, it wasn't a problem for me as a kid, and honestly isn't a problem for me now. For some reason, I don't have much else to say about this game. I don't hate this game at all though. It's cool seeing them make a game with only the 3DS in mind. And I played this endlessly as a kid. Coming back to it now, nearly 10 years later, I had a great time getting 100%. But for some reason, I just don't have a lot to say about this one. I do definitely recommend it to anyone who's a fan of the Wii U game or LEGO games. But I think it's now time to move on to the next game. Hey look, it's another game designed only for the handheld versions. This time tackling the new at the time LEGO Chima theme. Yeah, I did not play this one as a kid, and I don't really have any connection to this franchise at all. I was really into Ninjago growing up, so I was just kind of mad that we got a Chima game before a Ninjago game. I get it though, they wanted to hype up their brand new series and LEGO theme, so this game is going to be completely new to me. LEGO Chima Laval's Journey released on the 3DS and PS Vita on the 21st of June 2013. It wouldn't release on the DS until late August of the same year. I have no clue why the DS version came out 2 months after the other versions, but oh well. For those that are new to Chima, I'll sum it up very loosely. It is a series about anthropomorphic animals that battle for chi. Chi is almost like a metaphor for drugs, kind of. It makes the animals feel really good and powerful, and evil people want more of it, but the good people want to control it. I really hope Chima fans don't kill me for that summary. But yeah, you play as Laval, and he's a part of the lion tribe, and must stop his old friend Krager from trying to take over Chima or something. You start things off in the first level, and speaking of levels, yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't know, I don't really have any connection towards Chima for one, and two, I just think they're poorly designed. Most of these levels are extremely boring and way too long. While they have unique and sometimes cool settings, a lot of the levels are poorly designed and all feel the same to me. It didn't help most of the game is kind of in a 2D camera perspective, which overall just made it feel really boring to me. Just keep moving to the right, do some platforming where it's kind of hard to tell where you're going to land, and have a boss fight at the end. As you progress more and more through the story, you unlock new animals that grant you new abilities. But it doesn't make it any different from any of the other LEGO games. It honestly just kind of feels mindless to me. And what didn't help was the combat in this game is extremely boring. It doesn't feel like much is going on. I'm just tapping the same button until they die. Sure, you can say that about a lot of LEGO games, but it feels like I'm watching an animation rather than fighting. From defeating enough enemies or breaking objects, you can collect chi. Once you have enough chi, you can power up into your chi form, which gives you faster running speed and lets you kill enemies in one hit. I didn't chi up very often though, mostly because it takes a very long time to power up, and it's really annoying to have to bring my attention to the touchscreen just to do it. But like Lord of the Rings on 3DS, this game has hub worlds that you can navigate between levels. I will say they did them a bit better here, with having more collectibles and actual things to do. But some of these collectibles are really annoying to find, since you don't have a mini-map and the camera control. I would be lying though if I said they were ugly. They all have pretty unique and interesting designs, and for my story playthrough, it was cool to figure out what animals areas would be like. Again, I think it's cool to go through these areas between levels, but coming back to get them for 100%, wasn't fun for me. The DS game also falls in the same situation. Besides, this time it's so much worse than LEGO Lord of the Rings. A good chunk of the hub world is completely taken out, and it's in this kind of like side-scroll perspective, like in the levels, and the game, like usual, runs very poorly and sounds absolutely awful. But the Vita and 3DS versions remain the same as usual. The item system from Lord of the Rings is also back, which, why? Getting collectibles and levels wasn't fun for me either, because I just don't enjoy the source material, and I didn't like the levels in the first place. I'm really sorry if you're a fan of this game, and I've been so critical on it. I just didn't grow up with this game, so I don't have any nostalgic for it at all. But nostalgia aside, I just really don't care much for this franchise. And I honestly don't think anyone else did either, seeing that Chima only lasted 2 years as a theme. As a kid, I didn't care for this game, and I don't care still nearly 10 years later. But hey, I will say this game is impressive, and I love seeing TT Fusion being able to make games with only portables in mind. While I don't really have that much to say about this game, I honestly do recommend it. I was a bit harsh on it, but this is just my 4th LEGO handheld game in this video, and the 13th I reviewed for this channel. So obviously these games are getting really stale to me, but if you like LEGO games or are a Chima fan, yeah, just give this game a shot. LEGO Marvel Superheroes is TT's most successful LEGO game. It was an absolutely huge hit. Critics loved it, and if you were a kid in the 2010s, you most likely have played this game or have seen videos of other YouTubers playing it. But that's with the console version, of course. This game also released on the 3DS, DS, and PS Vita with the title LEGO Marvel Superheroes Universe in Peril, which should have been exciting since seeing the recent trend was to give these games huge open worlds. Will we get to fly around as Iron Man or explore Manhattan and drive cars? I can't wait to find out. Well, at least they had one of the things I was hoping for. Starting up the game, we are greeted to this embarrassing menu screen. It looks and feels so cheap. We only have 3 options: settings, trading cards, and a big fat play button taking up most of the screen. So I guess I'll just press play and hope for the best. Wait, where's the hub world? Is there no hub world in this game? Maybe I just need to beat the first level and then I'll unlock it. Wait, why are the characters so far away from the camera? What is this? So if you can't already tell, yeah, this game is taking a completely different approach from their previous titles. Now levels are split up into 3 mini levels, and when I say mini, I really mean it. You can beat most of these levels in like 1 minute. There isn't much variety. Most of the time it's simply get to the end of the level or defeat a boss. And a lot of this is made worse by having the camera in a new isometric perspective. This may not look like a problem since you're watching the video on a bigger screen than a 3DS, but imagine this on a tiny 3DS screen. So not only are you playing this game on a device with an already small screen, but now the camera is zoomed out really far, which makes it so much harder to see what's going on. It can make it very hard to know where you can or can't go on a lot of levels. Something else more irritating is you only have 1 life. If you lose all your hearts in the game, you must restart the whole entire level. Like sure, the levels in this game are already shorter to begin with, but this makes the game so much harder than what it needs to be. If a kid is playing this game and keeps dying repeatedly, then why would they want to continue to play the game? Why would you want to make the portable version, which is normally popular with younger kids, the hardest version of this game? If even I'm dying as an adult by an overwhelming amount of enemies, or just stupid attacks that are impossible to avoid, then imagine what a kid would do about playing this game. And also on levels you can fall off the terrain because it's so hard to tell what's going on. Thankfully during the last level you are given the invincibility extra. But I doubt most people played it for that long because for some reason they locked the last 3 levels behind a certain amount of gold bricks. So you'll have to replay some of the most boring and lifeless missions just to get some gold bricks. Levels in this game are some of the worst and most mind-numbing things I've ever experienced. When playing on story, you can't even switch your character, you are stuck playing as one character. For the average person playing this game, they would probably stop around 5 levels in or something. But I 100% complete this game. There are 45 mini levels, with each one having 10 gold bricks to collect. You get gold bricks by doing mini objectives, like beat the level, collect a certain amount of studs, or defeat a certain amount of enemies. Almost every single level copies and pastes the same objectives. The ones I hated the most are the time challenges and multi-challenges. For one, the multi-challenges would ask you to complete 3 challenges to unlock 1 gold brick in a character. One of the multi-challenge objectives will be a time challenge, and at the same time you'll have to do other things like take no damage or beat a boss using a certain object. Why would you have 2 things telling me to beat the level in a certain amount of time? Normally you would think, oh, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But no, instead it has me playing every single level the exact same way. First, do the first time attack challenge, then do the multi-challenge, then go back in the level and get everything else. I would play most of the levels at least 8 times. It's weird that these games are telling you to race through the levels. Weren't LEGO games all about exploring and going back to older missions to find secrets? This seems very counterintuitive to the laid-back and explorative approach normally found in LEGO games. It's forcing you to race for an objective, but all you really want to be doing is exploring and experimenting with the levels, and seeing what other cool stuff you can find. All of that is gone with the focus on beat the level as fast as you can. I mean, it's not like you would want to explore any of these levels anyways, there is literally nothing in them. Sure, sometimes you can find a mini kit which gets you a new superhero card, but that's the only collectible in the whole level. And on levels, you can only choose one character, and can't choose who your partner is. So if you play a level and do not choose the right character to get to a new area, you have to restart the level and choose a different character. But a lot of the time, you'll need more than one character with exclusive abilities to get everything in the level. So you will play most of these levels over and over and over again. Not to mention, you can only apply 3 red bricks at a time for some reason. But don't worry, none of them are useful anyways. They're all just added effects for when you fight. But I wish they just had a menu or something to easily turn them off or on. Instead, I had to touch these small icons, and if I accidentally skip over the red brick I want, I have to restart it and keep tapping all over again. If you can't tell, these levels look dreadful and are some of the most boring levels I have ever seen. It seems like there's no care put into these. They simply got the levels from the console version and copy and pasted the same objectives over and over again. You're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, this sounds awful, but it can't be any worse, right? Well, I've yet to tell you about the controls. So you have the normal fighting and whatnot, but they pulled a LEGO Harry Potter on DS and got rid of the jumping. Like, seriously, why? I don't understand it at all. Instead, now you can dodge. Who wanted dodging? You are barely going to use it in the main game in general. If you're a flying character, you can fly, but you have to swipe up on the touchscreen, which just feels awkward. The touchscreen is also where you use your super move and team up move. But these buttons are so annoying and big, so while you're trying to fly, you'll accidentally press the super move button or vice versa. The touch controls are really annoying in this game and feel so shoehorned in. This all just confuses me. How could they actually take away what everyone loves about LEGO games and make a game like this? It doesn't even feel like there's any care put into this game at all. Alright, I do have 2 positives though. As I mentioned, the controls suck, but combat is actually kind of fun in this game. It's really fast paced and feels really punchy. It's fun to build combos as well. I mean, some characters suck, but Wolverine is so much fun to play as. And another thing is the character roster is pretty cool. Although I'll never play as most of these characters because, yeah, you can only choose one character per level, so I don't really care. It's cool seeing all these variants and movie tie-in characters that aren't in the console game. But yeah, that's all I really have to say positive-wise. I just can't really understand why they went this direction. And honestly, I'm still shocked today that the game is so bad and soulless as it is. I really had to dig deep to find anything I enjoyed about this game. Well, sure, it might just be an okay game, but even I think that's pushing it. It's not a good LEGO game. So I did something. I went out of my way and found someone who worked on almost every single portable LEGO game, including this one. I just wanted to see if I can get more development for this game. The source wanted to stay anonymous, and this is what they had to say. That rather than taking a game developed on the handhelds and trying to crowbar in a touch control method when we came to the port on iOS and Android, why not make our lives easier and make it touch control from the very start? After all, Harry Potter for the DS was designed from the ground up to be a touch control game, and went over to iOS really nicely. But then the edict was, make it more like a mobile game. Quick 2-minute levels, 3 lives, etc, etc. At the time, we already had the LEGO Movie in development going the same way. When Marvel Handheld released to a total kicking, we very quickly abandoned all the mobile-esque ideas, and quickly scrapped a bunch of the level up designs in LEGO Movie to switch back to something a little more LEGO-like. Not a single person on the dev team thought the mobile direction was right. A few people left over it, in fact. An utterly dreadful game on handheld. due to the dopey idea to change the formula into something more mobile phone-like. Suffice to say, that lasted for exactly one game. Which, if you're watching this video, thank you so much for giving me your time to talk about this game. I really appreciate it. But yes, they completely changed the direction of LEGO Marvel Superheroes and designed it with mobile phones in mind, which is what I expected to begin with. The iOS and Android versions wouldn't release until a couple months later. It's basically the same game, just the camera is more zoomed out. They added the ability to switch your character in story mode and has a bunch of in-app purchases. This version also sold for $5, which is a huge slap in the face for people who bought the game on 3DS when it originally came out. Obviously, this isn't the devs' fault. I don't blame them at all. It sucks that the developers didn't get to develop the game they want, all because the higher-ups wanted to make a game designed more for mobile. I don't like LEGO Marvel Superheroes on 3DS at all, and now knowing more about the development of the game, I think I like it even less with how the developers were treated. But hey, with what they created, I think they did a good job. For an iPhone game releasing in 2014, it's pretty high quality. I really don't recommend this game to anyone though. You can still buy it on the App Store if you want to try it out, but I would just stay away from the game honestly. Oh yeah, and I for some reason forgot to mention the DS version of this game. It's really depressing. They couldn't even fit all the challenges in the game, so instead you only have 5 to complete per level. The game has extremely long load times, and just look at it. There's no enemies spawning at all, and everything just looks lifeless. I kind of wish I played that version now, just because it would have been faster since there are only 225 gold bricks to collect. And yeah, this is the last time you would see a LEGO game released on a DS. Finally, it's really long overdue. Anyways, I am really ready to get on and talk about the next game. I remember being really excited for a LEGO Movie video game as a kid. I think I had a lot of good times with it, but haven't touched it since. I did also get the 3DS version later down the line, so what did I think of it? Well, this game again has the same cheap feeling menus. Getting right into the gameplay, this game looks really nice graphically, but again, it's the same gameplay formula as LEGO Marvel Superheroes. You have one life, and most of the progression of the game is done via small objectives. I will say though, the levels are a huge improvement. They're a lot bigger here and can actually be kind of interesting. Characters also have things to do in the levels this time around rather than just move forward and fight enemies. Like Emmett can fix stuff and Wild Style being able to do parkour. Unfortunately, you are unable to jump in this game, and they got rid of flying characters in general. It means you aren't pressing the touchscreen as much though, which I won't complain about. On levels, you can also be more than one character, and on free play, be any character you want. I'm still shocked they took that out of LEGO Marvel Superheroes, but yeah, levels aren't perfect. They're still in the same isometric point of view and are super short. But you will get some variety, like the vehicle missions, which are honestly kind of annoying, and the missions where you're just falling. But these levels feel really lame, and some of them are only like 30 seconds long. Like, why would a kid ever want to replay a falling section in the game? A lot of objectives from LEGO Marvel Superheroes return as well, but it's only really to defeat all enemies and time trial ones. I am annoyed that they brought time trials back, and they're still also in the multi-challenges too, just because it makes me play the level a lot more than I want to. In good news, a lot of objectives are more exploring based, like having to find a mini kit or red brick, painting posters of Wild Style, or saving civilians, which I do appreciate, and I'm glad they're going back to their more explore-based gameplay. Another good thing is the graphics. They look great. I love the animations and how characters move like actual LEGO. And mixed with how colorful and eye-popping the levels are, it makes for a very nice game to look at. Although it's so strange seeing scenes from the movie play on a 3DS. Like, look, it's Chris Pratt in my 3DS. I do actually think the levels are fun here and can honestly be quite addictive at times. But they're not really fun to replay. Because of how short they are, they mostly feel like one and dones, just something that's supposed to distract me for a short amount of time. But I do really appreciate them slowly returning to the original formula. At least they made red bricks useful again. The only issue is you can still only choose from 3 of them at a time, so I didn't even get to use most of the useful ones. The character selection in this game is okay. Of course you get the whole main cast from the LEGO Movie, but you also get a bunch of random DC characters and minifigs from the CMF series. But nobody in this game is really all that unique. The combat is a lot of fun though, and I'm glad they have characters like Superman that can just take out characters in one hit using his heat vision. At the end of the day, this game is just really okay. Like, I don't have much to say about it at all, because most of the complaints are the same ones I had for LEGO Marvel Superheroes. While this game is a lot better, it doesn't take much to be better than LEGO Marvel Superheroes, to be honest. They're just improving on stuff that they've already done well in other LEGO games before. basically just trying to catch up. Like, this game isn't a bad game, I just wouldn't recommend it to anyone because it's really bland. Hopefully by the next game, they got this all sorted out. And also, this game released on iPhone and Android later down the line as well. But, time to move on. I know a lot of Lord of the Rings fans are going to hate me, but I have far more of a connection with The Hobbit than Lord of the Rings. I just grew up watching the Hobbit movies and loved them, and when I was watching them, I've never seen Lord of the Rings. But Lego The Hobbit the video game just might be my favorite Lego video game of all time. I remember getting it on the Xbox 360 for me and my brother's birthday, and staying up late to beat the story mode so we could unlock the huge and amazing free roam. When I was finally able to play the 3DS version, I wasn't expecting much, mostly because of how the last two games came out. But I remember having really mixed feelings on it. So how is it? Well, it released on the 3DS and PS Vita. Like all the other games, I experienced this game on the 3DS as a kid, and I played it on that platform for the video. Starting the game up worries me again, because we have another cheap looking title screen. And while the level is loading, I can see all the challenges again, but this time you can actually look over them while the level loads, which is a nice feature. Looking through all of them, I actually don't see a single time trial, and a lot of these are about finding collectibles. Well, that's a really good sign. No more multi-challenges either, instead just giving you a freebie for completing all the challenges, which is quite nice. The levels in this game are actually really fun. They finally brought puzzles back, and they're not too short or too long. They do throw in the occasional short level, which can actually be quite nice, and adds variety from the longer levels. In like Lord of the Rings, you have a stacked party of characters, all with different abilities, and it's really fun to switch between them to solve puzzles. Nothing is locked behind a touchscreen anymore, which is really nice. Unfortunately, you still can't jump and you only have one life. It's weird though, because there are so many areas in the level where it'll automatically make you jump. So if you're going that far just to make the character jump, why not just bring it back? It can get annoying on one level when I'm trying to control my character, but he keeps auto-jumping over something. Like, trust me, I don't think I ever used the dodge button that often in the game to warrant getting rid of the jump button. Back to the one life, it's just really annoying. Like, you make the levels longer and more about exploring, so if I'm exploring the level, I'm gonna take my time. But when I die in a level after playing it for 20 minutes, it just really sucks to have to restart the whole entire level from the start. When I was on the level with Gandalf and Radgast, there was a part where you have to use Gandalf's super move to push a platform down. But 8 times out of 10, it would just instantly kill me. This happened on story mode and free play mode multiple times, and I have no clue how to exactly stop it from happening. Combat feels okay in this game, like it's fun and plays like the previous games, but there are these annoying armored enemies. After you knock them down, you must hold the attack button when prompted to take them out. But the prompt would disappear even if you move just a little bit, which would cause them to get up and have to restart the whole thing again. Rather than the armored ones, I enjoyed the combat, just this glitch happened way too often. Thankfully you can have as many red bricks as you want, and free play mode is a lot of fun as well, just going back and exploring the levels to try and collect all the achievements. But for some reason, Gollum is the most expensive character in this game, and for a lot of the puzzles in free play you need him to complete them, but once he's unlocked it gets quite easy. I have yet to mention this, but the hub world finally returns. Kind of. Instead, it's replaced with this really weird layout that reminds me of Mario Party. You don't move freely, you just choose which direction you want to go in and your character walks down a path. It feels really odd and it's just very messy. Like at first, all of this was very confusing. You just keep going down more and more paths and unlocking new ways to go. This hub world does not scream confidence to me. Like, it's hard to describe, and to be honest, I'm confusing on what exactly it adds to warrant it being here. They have side quests in the hub world. You go up to a random stranger on a pad, and it'll give you a quest. The only issue is, all the dialogue is unskippable. Even when you go back and have already completed their quest, you still can't skip their dialogue. But their quest can be 3 different things. Build something for someone, give them an item, or they'll send you off on a quest. The item thing is exactly like Lord of the Rings and Chima, but so much worse, because it has a confusing map layout which makes it hard to remember who you have or haven't talked to. So I'll accidentally keep talking to people that already had their quest completed. So they'll just give me dialogue that I can't skip. I know that if their circle is green, it means their quest isn't completed. And if the circle isn't green, then it is completed. But this would glitch out a lot of the time to where I just end up having to talk to everyone anyways. There's also no way at all to track any of the items you've collected, which is weird because they've had those in all the other games, so why would you take it out? When a character sends you on a quest, it's kind of cool. You'll walk over to a mission pad that'll spawn you into an area where you have to fight 3 waves of enemies. After that you return to them, and that's it. Now the last thing these people want you to do is build something for them. In levels you can collect materials, but you shouldn't bother because you can just buy them all for super cheap anyways. You use these materials to craft red bricks and structures that you'll need for side quests. Once you place a structure down for the person, that's it. That's the whole quest. All of these side quests will just reward you in mithril bricks, which is essential to crafting buildings and red bricks. And if this whole crafting, quest system, and hub world sounds like a bloated and confusing mess, that's because it is. Like, this is all so much random crap that doesn't need to be in this game. I would have just taken a small hub world of a shop over this. A lot of what you're doing is completely pointless. I would much rather just be playing the levels instead of walking around a Mario Party board all day. Getting all the gold bricks in every level already takes a long time, but because of all the extra fluff after, it takes so much longer than it should to 100% complete this game. And the reward you get after getting every gold brick is not worth it at all. It's just the final cutscene of the game. I could have just watched this on YouTube. Like, first you give us LEGO games that are way too simple, but then you give us LEGO games like this. They overcomplicate everything that makes a LEGO game enjoyable. Getting 100% in this game felt like a chore. I really enjoyed the levels, but the game dragged on for a lot longer than it needed to. I don't really recommend this game. Like, it's just kind of annoying to get into. Like, the game is fine, I'm just really tired of talking about this. Oh my god, I'm finally done. I have 100% completed 7 LEGO games, and this took ages to make. It's just weird to see the games get so ambitious just to out of nowhere become really bad. But now knowing what was going on during development, it makes a lot more sense. Honestly, I'm just ready for them to ditch this arcade-like approach entirely. As a kid, I kinda stopped paying attention to these games after they kept on doing this. I even had a lot of comments on my last video of people telling me they stopped buying these games after LEGO Marvel Superhero on 3DS, which I can completely understand. It just kind of sucks because I know really soon TT Fusion is going to release some of their best LEGO games yet. Thankfully, I only have 6 games left until the series comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and another thanks to the amount of amazing support from everyone.